Before we dive into the story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more heart-touching tales. Wishing you a beautiful day now. Sit back and enjoy the story. The collision. Amelia Grace hurried down the busy street. Clutching her worn leather bag and the stack of library books, she was returning on her lunch break. At 24, she had perfected the art of being invisible, keeping her head down and avoiding eye contact with strangers. Her long brown hair fell like a curtain around her face as she navigated through the crowd of office workers and tourists. The October wind whipped through the city streets, making her pull her oversized cardigan tighter around her small frame. She was already running late to get back to the library, but she desperately needed her afternoon coffee to get through the rest of her shift. The small coffee shop near Metropolitan Hospital had become her regular spot. It was usually quiet, and the elderly owner, Mrs. Chen, always remembered her order. As Amelia pushed through the glass door of Sunrise Cafe, the warm aroma of freshly ground coffee beans enveloped her like a comforting hug. She loved this little sanctuary with its mismatched chairs, local artwork on the walls, and the gentle hum of quiet conversations. It was nothing like the trendy, expensive coffee chains that made her feel self-conscious about her modest income. She ordered her usual a medium vanilla latte with an extra shotan, found a small table by the window. While waiting for her order, she pulled out her current read. A well-worn romance novel about a shy girl who falls in love with a mysterious stranger. Amelia often found herself living vicariously through these stories, wondering if she would ever experience the kind of passionate love she read about every night. Medium vanilla latte with an extra shot for Amelia, called out the barista. Standing up quickly, Amelia gathered her books and bags, eager to grab her coffee and head back to work. But as she turned toward the counter, disaster struck. She collided directly into someone walking in the opposite direction, her coffee cup flying from the barista's hand and splashing all over the stranger's pristine white dress shirt and navy blue tie. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," Amelia gasped, her face burning with embarrassment as she stared at the coffee-stained expensive fabric. She looked up to see the most handsome man she had ever encountered in real life. He was tall, probably 6 feet, 2 inches, with dark hair perfectly styled despite the early afternoon hour. His green eyes were striking, and his strong jawline looked like it belonged on a magazine cover rather than in a small coffee shop. But what made Amelia's breath catch wasn't just his devastating good looks, it was the fact that his white shirt probably cost more than her monthly rent, and she had just ruined it completely. Dr. Gabriel Stone looked down at his coffee-stained shirt and then back at the mortified young woman standing before him. He had been having the worst day back, 2 back surgeries, difficult patient consultation, and a heated argument with his father about the family's medical foundation. The last thing he expected was to have his afternoon improved by a clumsy angel with the most beautiful brown eyes he had ever seen. "Please don't worry about it," Gabriel said softly, his voice warm and reassuring. "It's just a shirt." But Amelia was practically in tears, her hands shaking as she grabbed napkins from the nearest table. "It's not just a shirt. It's clearly expensive, and I'm such a klutz. I'll pay for the dry cleaning, or I can buy you a new one, although I probably can't afford the same brand, but I'll figure something out." Gabriel gently caught her hands to stop her frantic dabbing at his shirt, and the moment their skin touched, he felt an unexpected jolt of electricity. Her hands were soft and warm, and when she looked up at him with those wide, innocent eyes, he felt something shift in his chest. "Hey, breathe," he said gently, his thumbs unconsciously stroking across her knuckles. "I promise you, it's really okay. I have about 20 identical shirts in my closet." Amelia stared at their joined hands, her heart racing from both embarrassment and something else entirely. No man had ever touched her so gently, and certainly no man who looked like he belonged on the cover of a romance novel. She became acutely aware of how plain she must look in her simple brown cardigan and faded jeans compared to his obviously expensive suit. "I really am sorry," she whispered, trying to pull her hands away, but Gabriel held on gently. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice low and intimate despite the public setting. "Amelia," she managed to say, surprised by the genuine interest in his eyes. Amelia, Gabriel repeated, and the way her name sounded in his deep voice made her stomach flutter. I'm Gabriel, and I have a proposition for you. Amelia's eyes widened in alarm, and Gabriel quickly realized how that sounded. Not that kind of proposition, he said with a chuckle that made her blush even deeper. I was thinking you could. Let me buy you another coffee to replace the one that's currently decorating my shirt. It seems like the least I can do for being in the path of your beverage. The coffee date 10 minutes later, they were seated across from each other at a small corner table, 2 fresh coffee cups steaming between them. Gabriel had borrowed a spare t-shirt from the coffee shop's Lost and Found, and somehow he looked even more attractive in the casual blue cotton than he had in his formal attire. So what do you do, Amelia? Gabriel asked, wrapping his long fingers around his coffee mug. There was something about this shy, genuine woman that made him want to know everything about her. I'm a librarian at the Central City Library, Amelia said, then immediately felt foolish. I know it's not very exciting. Are you kidding? Gabriel's eyes lit up with genuine interest. I love libraries. There's something magical about being surrounded by all those stories, all that knowledge. What's your favorite part about it? One had ever asked her that question before. Most people heard librarian and immediately assumed she was boring or old-fashioned. But Gabriel was looking at her like she had just revealed the most fascinating profession in the world. The children's section, Amelia said, her shyness melting away under his sincere attention. I do story time twice a week. There's nothing. Like watching a child's face light up when they discover a new book, a new world they never knew existed. That's beautiful, Gabriel said, and she could tell he meant it. You must be wonderful with kids. I love them, Amelia admitted. They don't judge you. They just want someone to care about them, to pay attention to them. It's pure and honest. Gabriel found himself captivated by the way her whole face transformed when she talked about something she loved. Out her brown eyes sparkled with passion, and her nervous fidgeting stopped completely. This was the real Amelia. He realized a candid, caring, and absolutely radiant. What about you? Amelia asked, surprising herself with her boldness. What do you do? Gabriel's expression grew more serious. I'm a heart surgeon at Metropolitan Hospital. It's demanding work, but he paused, looking directly into her eyes. I can't imagine doing anything else. Amelia's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. A heart surgeon. That explained the expensive clothes, the confident demeanor, the way he carried himself like someone used to making life-and-death decisions. She suddenly felt even more out of her league. That must be incredibly difficult, she said softly. All that responsibility, it is, Gabriel admitted. But also incredibly rewarding when you can save someone's life, give them more time with their family. He studied her face carefully. Most people, when they find out what I do, they either get intimidated or suddenly become very interested in my bank account. That's terrible, Amelia said sincerely. People should care about who you are, not what you have. Gabriel felt his chest tighten at her genuine response. When was the last time someone had looked at him like he was just a man, not a title or a bank balance? They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing as naturally as if they had known each other for years. Gabriel told her about his love of classical music and old movies. Amelia shared her secret dream of writing children's books someday. Neither of them noticed the cafe emptying out around them, or the way. The afternoon light shifted across their table. Finally, Gabriel glanced at his watch and sighed. I hate to say this, but I have to get back to the hospital. I have a surgery. In 2 hours? Of course, Amelia said, starting to gather her things. Thank you for the coffee. And again, I'm so sorry about your shirt. As they stood to leave, Gabriel caught her hand gently. Amelia, I know this might sound crazy since we just met, but would you like to have dinner with me sometime? For real. Dinner somewhere nice? Amelia's heart stopped, then started again at double speed. Gabriel Stone, gorgeous and successful, and completely out of her leguas, asking her out. Plain, shy, invisible, Amelia Grace. She started, then stopped, overwhelmed by the impossibility of it all. Think about it, Gabriel said gently, pulling out his business card and writing something on the back. That's my personal number. Call me when you decide. As he handed her the card, their fingers brushed, and Amelia felt electricity shoot up her arm. Gabriel's eyes darkened slightly at the contact, and for a moment, the air between them crackled with possibility. "For what it's worth," Gabriel said quietly, his voice rough with emotion, "I think you're extraordinary." Then he was gone, leaving Amelia standing alone outside the cafe, staring at his business card and wondering if her ordinary life was about to become anything but ordinary. The library visit 3 days had passed since the coffee shop encounter, and Amelia had Gabriel's business card memorized. She had pulled it out dozens of times, her finger hovering over his number, but courage always failed her at the last second. What would she even say to a man like Gabriel Stone? He'd probably had women throwing themselves at him every day, sophisticated. Beautiful women who belonged in his world of expensive restaurants and high society. It was Thursday afternoon. Amelia was reshelving returned books in the fiction section when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Excuse me, could you help me find something?" Amelia spun around so quickly that several books tumbled from her arms, scattering across the library floor. Gabriel stood there in dark jeans and a forest green sweater that made his eyes look like emeralds, a small smile playing at his lips as he watched her scramble to pick up the fallen books. "Gabriel," she breathed, her heart hammering against her ribs. "What are you doing here?" "I was hoping to find a good book," he said, kneeling down to help her gather the scattered novels. "Someone told me this library has excellent recommendations." Hands brushed as they both reached for the same romance novel, and Amelia felt that same electric shock from the coffee shop. Gabriel's fingers lingered on hers for a moment longer than necessary before he handed her the book. "How did you know I worked here?" Amelia asked as they both stood up. "You mentioned it during our coffee," Gabriel said softly. "I was hoping I might run into you again." The admission made Amelia's cheeks burn with pleasure. He had been thinking about her enough to seek her out. "Are you really looking for a book?" Or she trailed off. "Really looking for a book?" Gabriel said with that devastating smile. "And I was really hoping to see you again. I've been thinking about our conversation about you." Amelia felt her breath catch. No one had ever told her they'd been thinking about her before. "What kind of book are you looking for?" she asked, finding her professional composure. "Something that will help me understand why someone would choose to spend their life surrounded by stories," Gabriel said, his eyes never leaving her face. "Something that might help me see the world through your eyes." The sincerity in his voice made Amelia's chest tight with emotion. Without thinking, she led him toward her favorite section of the library. A quiet corner filled with classic literature and poetry. "These are the books that made me fall in love with reading," she said softly, running her fingers along the spines of worn novels. They're about ordinary people who discover they're capable of extraordinary things. Gabriel watched her face as she talked about each book, captivated by the way her eyes lit up with passion. This was the confident, radiant woman he had glimpsed at the coffee shop, and he found himself falling deeper under her spell with every word. "This one," Amelia said, pulling out a leather-bound copy of Jane Eyre, "is about a plain, poor girl who refuses to compromise her principles for love. She's one of my heroes." "Plain," Gabriel repeated softly, taking the book from her hands. "I don't think you see yourself clearly, Amelia." Before she could ask what he meant, Mrs. Peterson, the head librarian, appeared around the corner. "Amelia, dear, could you help Mrs. Williams find some large print mysteries?" she asked, then noticed Gabriel. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." "You were helping a patron, Mrs. Gabriel," Amelia said quickly. "Gabriel, this is Mrs. Peterson, our head librarian." "Pleasure to meet you," Gabriel said with the charm that made hospital administrators and board members fall over themselves to accommodate him. "Amelia has been incredibly helpful. You're lucky to have someone so knowledgeable and passionate about literature." Mrs. Peterson beamed at the compliment about her favorite employee. "Oh yes, Amelia is our treasure. The children absolutely adore her story times." After helping Mrs. Williams, Amelia found Gabriel still in the classic literature section, actually. Reading the first chapter of Jane Eyre, he looked up when she approached, and the intensity in his green eyes made her stomach flutter. "She's fascinating," he said, referring to the main character. "Strong, principled, independent. I can see why you admire her." "Most people find her too serious," Amelia said, settling into the reading chair across from him. Most people don't appreciate depth, Gabriel replied. They prefer beautiful surfaces to beautiful souls. The way he said it, looking directly at her, made Amelia wonder if he was still talking about Jane Eyre. Tell me about your surgeries, she said, changing the subject before she could read too much into his words. What's it like to hold someone's heart in your hands? Gabriel was quiet for a moment, considering her question with the seriousness it deserved. Terrifying, he said finally. Humbling. Every time I operate, I'm reminded that life is fragile, precious. That every heartbeat is a gift. Is that why you became a surgeon? Would you give people more heartbeats? Partly, Gabriel said, his voice growing soft. Mostly because I lost someone I loved to heart disease when I was younger. My grandfather. He raised me after my parents divorced, and when he had his heart attack, I felt so helpless. I swore I'd never feel that helpless again, Amelia. Felt tears prick her eyes at the pain in his voice. Without thinking, she reached across the small space between their chairs and touched his hand. I'm so sorry. You would be proud of all the lives you've saved. Gabriel's breath caught at her gentle touch, at the genuine compassion in her brown eyes. When was the last time someone had comforted him rather than the other way around? What about you? He asked quietly. What made you want to work with books and children? Amelia hesitated, then decided to trust him with the truth. I grew up in foster care, she said softly. Different families, different schools, never staying anywhere long enough to make real friends. Books were the only constant in my life. They were my friends, my escape, my comfort when everything else felt uncertain. Gabriel felt his chest tighten with emotion. The thought of Amelia as a lonely child finding solace in stories made him want to gather her in his arms and promise she'd never be alone again. The children who come to story time, Amelia continued, some of them are shy, some are from difficult situations. When I see them discover a book that speaks to them, it's like watching them find a piece of themselves they didn't know was missing. You're incredible, Gabriel said softly, his thumb stroking across her knuckles where their hands were still joined. The way you care for others, the way you see the beauty in small moments, it's a gift. Amelia felt her cheeks burn at his praise. I'm not special. Just understand what it feels like to need an escape. You are special, Gabriel said firmly. More special than you realize. Growing closer over the next 2 weeks, Gabriel became a regular visitor to the library. He would arrive during Amelia's lunch breaks or after her story times, always with a genuine interest in discussing whatever book he was reading. Amelia began to look forward to these visits more than anything else in her day. Gabriel, meanwhile, found himself rearranging his schedule to accommodate trips to the library. He told himself it was just intellectual curiosity, but he knew the truth was falling for Amelia Grace in a way that both thrilled and terrified him. Their friendship deepened with each conversation. Gabriel told her about the pressure of living up to his family's medical legacy, about the loneliness of success when he had no one to share it with. Amelia shared her dreams of writing children's books, her fears about never being brave enough to pursue them. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Gabriel arrived at the library to find Amelia sitting in the children's section, surrounded by a group of 8 kids ranging from about 4 to 10 years old. She was in the middle of reading The Velveteen Rabbit, and Gabriel found himself mesmerized by the way she brought each character to life with different voices and gestures. The children were completely captivated, their eyes wide with wonder, as Amelia read about the toy rabbit's journey to becoming real. When she finished, a little girl with pigtails raised her hand. Miss Amelia, how do you become real like the rabbit? Amelia smiled gently. Well, Sophie, I think we become real when someone loves us for exactly who we are, not who they want us to be. And when we're brave enough to love others the same way. Gabriel felt his heart clench at her words. He watched as she helped each child pick out a book to take home, remembering their preferences and making personal recommendations. When the last child left with his mother, Amelia looked up to find Gabriel watching her from behind a bookshelf. How long have you been there? She asked, blushing. Long enough to see you in your element, Gabriel said, moving closer. That was beautiful, Amelia. The way you connect with them, the way you make reading feel like magic. They make it easy, Amelia said, beginning to clean up the scattered picture books. Children see wonder in everything. They haven't learned to be cynical yet, Gabriel helped her stack the books, and their fingers brushed as they worked. The familiar spark of electricity passed between them, but this time, neither pulled away. Amelia, Gabriel said quietly, I need to tell you something. She looked up at him, her brown eyes questioning. I haven't been completely honest with you, he continued. That first day at the coffee shop, I told you I have 20 identical shirts. The truth is, I threw that coffee-stained shirt away because I never wanted to forget the moment I met you. Amelia's breath caught. Gabriel, I know this is complicated, he said, stepping closer. I know we come from different worlds. These past few weeks, getting to know you, they've been the best part of my days. You make me want to be better, to see the world through your eyes. You don't understand, Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm not like the women you're used to. I don't know how to be sophisticated or glamorous. Spend my evenings reading romance novels and writing stories. I'm too scared to show anyone. Gabriel reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Don't you see? That's exactly why you're perfect. You're real, Amelia. You're genuine in a world full of people pretending to be something they're not. Your friends, they'll never accept someone like me, Amelia said, tears threatening to spill over. Then they don't deserve to know you, Gabriel said firmly. Amelia, I'm falling in love with you. Not the idea of you, not some fantasy, but you. The woman who cries at children's stories and sees magic in dusty old books. The woman who makes me laugh and makes me think and makes me want to be worthy of her. The tears did fall then, and Gabriel gently wiped them away with his thumbs. I'm scared, Amelia whispered. So am I, Gabriel admitted. I've never felt this way about anyone before. It's terrifying and wonderful, and I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose you. For a moment they stood there in the quiet library, the weight of their feelings hanging between them. Then Amelia made a decision that would change everything. I've been writing you letters, she said suddenly. In my head, I mean, all these things I wanted to say but was too scared to. About how you make me feel brave, how you see me in ways I never saw myself. About how I think I'm falling in love with you too. Gabriel's heart soared. Really? Really? Amelia said, managing a watery smile. But I don't know how to do this, Gabriel. I've never been in love before. I don't know the rules.
Oh.
There are no rules, Gabriel said, pulling her closer. Make this up as we go along together. He leaned down, and Amelia met him halfway. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, a question being asked and answered. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Was that okay? Gabriel asked softly. More than okay, Amelia whispered. It was perfect. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, surrounded by books and the fading afternoon light, both knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The shy librarian and the successful surgeon had found something neither had been looking for, a love that was real, deep, and transformative. But neither could have predicted the challenges that lay ahead or how their love would be tested in ways they never imagined. The test of love. 3 months into their relationship, Gabriel invited Amelia to the hospital's annual charity gala. It was a black tie event that would introduce her to his world as colleagues, his friends, and most importantly, his family. Amelia spent her entire savings on a simple black dress and borrowed shoes from her coworker. As she stood in front of her bathroom mirror, she barely recognized herself. The dress was elegant but understated, and she had swept her long brown hair into a sophisticated updo. Still, she felt like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. When Gabriel picked her up, the look in his eyes made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. You're stunning, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Absolutely stunning. The gala was held at the city's most prestigious hotel. As they walked through the opulent ballroom, Amelia felt acutely aware of the stares and whispers that followed them. She overheard fragments of conversations. Who is she? Gabriel's dating a librarian? She's so ordinary? Gabriel sensed her discomfort and squeezed her hand reassuringly. You belong here, he whispered. You belong with me. But Amelia's confidence was shaken further when she met Gabriel's parents, Dr. Richard Stone, was a distinguished man in his 60s who looked at Amelia with barely concealed disappointment. His wife, Margaret, was polite but cold, her smile never reaching her eyes. "So you're the librarian," Margaret said with the tone one might use to say the plague carrier. "Yes, ma'am," Amelia replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I work at the Central City Library?" "How quaint," Margaret said. "Gabriel, darling, didn't you say you were bringing Dr. Harrison's daughter? I was so looking forward to meeting her." Gabriel's jaw tightened. "Mother, I'd like you to meet Amelia Grace, the woman I love." The silence that followed was deafening. Richard Stone cleared his throat. "Son, perhaps we should discuss this privately." "There's nothing to discuss," Gabriel said firmly. "Amelia is my girlfriend, and she's here as my guest. I expect her to be treated with respect." As his parents walked away, whispering urgently to each other, Amelia felt her heart breaking. She excused herself and found refuge in the ladies' room, where she let the tears fall. She was touching up her makeup when Margaret Stone entered. "You seem like a nice girl," Margaret said, her voice deceptively kind. "But you must see that this relationship has no future. Gabriel is destined for greatness. He needs a partner who can match his ambition, someone who understands his world. You're holding him back." "I would never hold Gabriel back," Amelia said quietly. "But you are, dear. Every moment he spends in that dusty library is a moment away from his career, his obligations. He's being considered for chief of surgery, did you know that? But the board wants stability, a surgeon whose personal life reflects the hospital's values. You're a liability." The words hit Amelia like physical blows. Deep down, she had always feared Thea's thought. She wasn't good enough for Gabriel, that she was a burden rather than a blessing. When she returned to the ballroom, she found Gabriel in heated conversation with a group of his colleagues. She hung back, listening. "Come on, Gabriel," one of them was saying. "You're one of the most eligible bachelors in the city. Surely you can do better than a librarian. She's sweet, I'm sure." Another added, "But marriage is about partnership. What can she offer? She doesn't move in our circles, doesn't understand our world." Gabriel's face was flushed with anger. "What she offers is something none of you would understand. New in love, kindness, integrity. She's worth more than all of you combined." But the damage was done. Amelia had heard enough. She slipped away from the party and took a taxi home, leaving Gabriel a text message saying she wasn't feeling well. The next morning, Gabriel arrived at her apartment, frantic with worry. "Amelia, what happened? You disappeared last night?" "I looked everywhere for you." "I heard them, Gabriel," she said quietly. "Your colleagues, your parents, they're right. I don't belong in your world." "They're wrong," Gabriel said firmly. "They're small-minded people who can't see past their own prejudices." "But they're your people," Amelia said, tears streaming down her face. "Your family, your career, your future. I won't be the reason you lose everything you've worked for." "But you're not listening to me," Gabriel said, reaching for her hands. "You are my future. Everything else is just noise." "Your mother told me about the chief of surgery position," Amelia said. "She said I was a liability, that the board wants stability." Gabriel's face darkened. "She had no right to say that to you." "But she wasn't wrong, was she?" Amelia asked. "Can you honestly tell me that being with me won't hurt your career?" Gabriel was quiet for a long moment, and in that silence, Amelia found her answer. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't be the reason you sacrifice everything you've worked for. I won't be your weakness." "You're not my weakness," Gabriel said desperately. "You're my strength. You make me better." "And prove it," Amelia said, her voice breaking. "Choose your career. Choose the life you're meant to have. Choose anyone but me." Gabriel stared at her, his heart breaking. "If that's what you really want, it is," Amelia lied. After Gabriel left, Amelia thought her heart would never heal. She threw herself into her work, her story times, her writing. She finished her first children's book, a story about a shy rabbit who learns that being different doesn't mean being less valuable. 2 weeks later, she received a call from a small publishing house. They wanted to publish her book. The same day, Gabriel received news that he had been appointed chief of surgery. It should have been the happiest day of his life, but all he felt was emptiness. That evening, he stood in his apartment, looking out at the city lights, when he realized something. Success meant nothing without someone to share it with. Achievement was hollow without love. He thought about Amelia's words about the velveteen rabbit becoming real when someone loves you for exactly who you are. He had spent his whole life trying to be what others expected, but Amelia had loved him for who he truly was. That would change everything. Gabriel drove to the library. He found Amelia in the children's section, just as he had that first day, reading to a group of children. But this time, she was reading from her own published book. When she finished, and the children left, Gabriel stepped out from behind the bookshelf just as he had before. "I made a mistake," he said quietly. "The biggest mistake of my life." "Gabriel, what are you doing here?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I took the job," he said. "Chief of surgery, and you know what? Felt like nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because the only opinion that matters to me is yours. The only approval I need is yours." He knelt down in front of her, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "I don't care what my parents think. I don't care what my colleagues say. I don't care about their approval or their world or their expectations. It's the only thing I care about is you, Amelia Grace. You are my world." Amelia's hands flew to her mouth as he opened the box to reveal a simple, perfect diamond ring. "You taught me what it means to be real," Gabriel continued. "You showed me that love isn't about what you can offer someone else, it's about accepting who they are and choosing them anyway. Every day, forever." Tears streamed down Amelia's face as she sank to her knees to meet him. "I'm not asking you to fit into my world," Gabriel said. "I'm asking you to let me be part of yours. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Amelia whispered, then louder, "Yes, yes, yes." As Gabriel slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her, Amelia realized that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about changing yourself for someone else. They are about finding someone who sees you, truly sees you, and loves you not despite your differences, but because of them. 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony at the library. Surrounded by children from Amelia's story times and Gabriel's closest friends, the ones who had embraced Amelia from the beginning. Gabriel's parents eventually won over. By Amelia's kindness and the obvious happiness she brought their son, gave their blessing. Amelia continued her work at the library and her writing, publishing a series of children's books that became beloved classics. Gabriel continued his work as chief of surgery, but now he came home each night to a woman who made him remember why he became a doctor in the first place: to help others, to heal, to make a difference. Their love story became one of the favorites that Amelia told during story time, adapted for children as a tale about a shy rabbit and a busy fox, who discovered that the most beautiful love is the one that sees you exactly as you are and chooses you anyway. And they lived happily ever after, proving that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the most ordinary moments: a spilled cup of coffee, a chance encounter, and two hearts brave enough to be real. The end. Asterisk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more heartwarming love stories.